Hey, this is Feist, and you're listening to Talkhouse. I have a new podcast series called Pleasure Studies. It's a storytelling project that looks at the common ground under our common struggles. It's not an interview series. I handed the mic over to people. We found them from all walks of life to talk about the places where they face themselves. Hard times are made harder by hiding out in that feeling that we're alone. This podcast seeks to look at how we're not. The Pleasure Studies, presented by Erios and Talkhouse.
Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest. Fred Armisen.
Prince Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast.
What's up? What is up? I'm your host, Elia Einhorn. Welcome back to the Talkhouse Podcast. On today's show, a very cool three-way conversation featuring the Flaming Lips Wayne Coyne with Claypool, Lennon, Delirium's Les Claypool and Sean Lennon. Joining me from Chicago, previously called Chi-Town, now evidently according to a show called The Chi.
It's Josh Modell. Hi, Elia. I'm here in the Chi.
Josh, I was very psyched that we were able to get Wayne, Les, and Sean all on the line together just before they head out on a big national tour.
This is a pretty incredible three-way, if you don't mind me putting it like that.
I don't mind. I don't think they would either.
On one side of the conversation, we have the Flaming Lips Wayne Coyne, a musical legend. He's led that band since 1983 through psychedelic rock, punk rock, acid rock, any kind of hyphenate you want, and done it all amazingly well.
I'd like to add to that, Josh, the Flaming Lips put on one of the best live shows I've ever seen. I've seen them a number of times, and they are consistently bonkers and amazing.
Yeah, you never know if you're going to get a confetti cannon, a 9-foot giraffe, Wayne out in the crowd in a bubble, but you know you're going to get an amazing show, no matter what.
Now, for Record Store Day this year, the Flaming Lips dropped King's Mouth, a full-length LP which features narration from Mick Jones of The Clash on every song.
Yeah, it's such a typical, atypical Flaming Lips thing to do, right? Like, got to keep yourself busy, keep yourself interested. Oh, let's just get Mick Jones from The Clash to narrate the thing. Why not?
Yeah. From that new record, King's Mouth, let's check out Feedaludum Beetle Dot. Wayne, you made me say that.
Feedaludum Beetle Dot. Give you all the love I got. Shout it from the mountaintop. Flowing like a lava spot. Feedaludum Beetle Dot. Flowing like a lava spot. On my nose and on my face. Flowers were shooting in the face.
Josh, the Flaming Lips sound has changed so much over the years, and yet somehow there's so much classic Lips in there, right?
It's always recognizable, even as it gets weird.
Now, as regular Talkhouse Podcast listeners might remember, Talkhouse co-curated Rough Trade NYC's Record Store Day. We brought in all the DJs. Wayne was also there. He'd built a sculpture for the King's Mouth. You could actually climb into the King's Mouth and sit inside his psychedelic brain, wearing 3D glasses and listening to samples of the record and some audio created specifically for the sculpture. I hear rumors that's going to be touring when this record drops.
Nice. Never a dull moment with the Flaming Lips.
Never a dull moment with Wayne. Now, in the other corner, Josh, recording before their show in Sacramento at Ace of Spades, we have Sean Lennon and Les Claypool, two more legends. Les, of course, made his name as the leader of Primus. He then went on to form a number of other bands, including the Frog Brigade and Oysterhead, the latter alongside Fish's Trey Anastasio and the Police's Stuart Copeland.
Yeah, and Sean Lennon has released albums under his own name, with Chibo Mato, with Ghost of a Saber-Toothed Tiger, with his mom, Yoko Ono, and Plastic Ono Band. He's also done work as a producer for everybody from Black Keys to Lana Del Rey. He's worked with John Zorn. He's had an incredible career over the last 30 or so years.
Now, when Claypool, Lennon, Delirium released their first record, Monolith of Phobos, back in 2016, Talkhouse hosted them at a live event here in New York City. We knew that when they dropped their sophomore joint, South of Reality, we had to welcome them back to the show. From their new record, South of Reality, let's check out the track Blood and Rockets. Josh, I feel like I'm on a psychedelic carousel here.
Don't take the brown acid, dude.
I already did. Wayne, Les, and Sean get into a lot in this conversation. Of course, they're very excited to hit the road together. And Sean has some questions for Wayne about how he comes up with new ideas for Flaming Lips' incredible visuals.
They talk about what they learned from their peers, including the Butthole Surfers, Gibby Haynes lighting fires on stage.
Yeah, Bootsy Collins sleeping in his platform boots.
And of course, when you're talking about hardcore touring, you got to talk about Mike Watt, who definitely jams Econo.
We also hear about Wayne and Les's secret superpowers.
We hear him talk about playing to pachyderms.
We learn what the true version of Van Halen requires.
And about riding light-up unicorns and having the best New Year's Eve ever, every single night.
And now, let's hear about all those things, as well as futuristic alien ceremonies for robots.
One quick note, listeners. Les Claypool's nickname for Sean Lennon is somewhere between Shawner and Shiner. So if you hear that word, that's who he's talking about.
That's who he means. Should we roll the tape, Josh?
Let's hear it.
Is that Sean Lennon?
Hey, Wayne, what's up, man?
I'm in Oklahoma, and where are you guys at?
We're in Sacramento.
Sacramento. This is Les. What's happening, man?
Oh, is that Claypool back there?
Yep.
All right. Are you guys playing in Sacramento? Is that why you're there?
Yeah, we just got here.
Oh, cool.
We're just here to do some roller skating.
I've been following, your tour little by little, and I noticed Sean was out fishing. Is that because did you join Les in a fishing expedition?
I joined him in a fishing expedition.
Well, I didn't catch much. No, Les is definitely the king fisherman around here. But it's fun. We went out in Missoula, fly fishing on a river. It was pretty nice.
Wow. You mean real fly fishing, like it's a thing? I mean, I just always think it's just a worm on the end of a stick and you're just hoping something happens. See, that sounds way more advanced than anything I could even think of.
That's basically all there is to it with me. They just gave me a stick and I just kept smacking it.
Shiner is a worm on the end of a stick. There's the carrot and the donkey, and then there's the worm and the stick, and then there's Shiner in there somewhere in the midst of it all.
So, man, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations on
little...
Papadum.
Yeah, I mean, we have this little baby. He's 3 weeks old and 3 weeks and 3 days as of today. So, yeah, he's brand new to the world. Les, you have kids?
I have adults now. They're off on their own. Well, they're not on their own. They're still tethered to me financially. But
well, how old are your kids?
My son's 23. He's finishing up college right now down in SoCal, and my daughter is 21.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, and do they come to your shows and love your music and all that sort of stuff, or are they rebellious in a different way?
Well, my daughter's coming to the show this evening, and chances are she will ridicule both myself and Sean, because that's what she does. It's like having Sarah Silverman for a daughter.
Yeah, she's pretty cynical.
I could see her ridiculing you, or if we were there, or the Flaming Lips.
What are you trying to say?
But why pick on Sean?
I'm an easy target, man. I don't know. She's acerbic.
Well, when she sees this man bun he's rocking right now, she's gonna have some fodder.
She's definitely funny.
Sean and my daughter have a very interesting relationship. They're like siblings, and they peck at each other like chickens with extra dots on their heads.
She's cool.
Oh, good. Okay, so Sean he's prepared for it.
Yeah, I can handle it. I went to boarding school.
Well, when you said Sarah Silverman, I was like, oh my God. Occasionally you have to do these sort of things where you're in a conversation and there's a comedian involved, and I'm like, I can never do that. I'm just talking, like telling my simple, boring truth. And, comedians are they're so fast and so quick, and they always have like a smart, funny answer. And I'm just saying yes and no. Yeah, you know what I mean? I feel like you guys are the same way.
Well, it would be hard to always be on like that. I can't imagine having to always be funny.
Oh, I know.
Sometimes you're not even in the mood to just do an interview, and then you have to be witty, and I couldn't handle that.
Yeah, I've always thought that was a great thing about you, Sean, is that, it's really just normal.
That I'm not funny at all. You're like, I love the fact that Sean just completely dull.
I think you're...
He's like a lump of cheese, fine cheese.
I know. I think you're very funny and very insightful and
Thanks,
relaxed,
man.
and all those. Yeah, I think that's the great thing. Part of this interview was there was like this question, like, how did we meet? And I honestly, I can't remember now. I mean, I feel like I've known you forever. And I've known of Les and Primus and, all that. And somewhere in there, it goes from being like, I know them, I know their music, and they're out there, to them. And that's just a blurry moment for me, especially with you, Sean.
It's been a while for us. I think the first time we met was, it was at a show. I think it was Chibo Mato was playing. Do you remember that old band I was playing with called Chibo Mato with the two Japanese girls, Yuka and Miho?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we either played a show with y'all or we were in the same place, but we definitely hung out after one of your shows. That was like
there you
96 or something. It was pretty early. And I remember you telling me about all these crazy art pieces you wanted to do back then even. I mean, your show already had the performance art element in it, but it was a much smaller production, let's say. But you were like, man, I want to get like 1,000 cars and have them all play the radio at once or something. Like you had some
you're right.
Super performance art
that
ideas.
would be like, that would be like 1996 and stuff. Wow. I mean, that's knowing each other a long fucking time.
And then I think we also were in either the same shows or the same nights around in Tokyo. I remember seeing your guys play it in Tokyo. That was actually really amazing.
Perfect. There you go.
At a place called the Liquid Room, I think, or a couple different places.
Oh, but man. You've got a good memory. I do not. I mean, I remember you, but I don't remember exactly like where were we and where was the place. Luckily,
because you've been playing shows like every day since then, whereas I've taken some breaks. So. It must be hard to remember. We have played a lot of tours together, but you've done like how many shows a year are you guys playing still?
We don't do that many. We play all the time, but we don't. I always compare it to like the Grateful Dead, where we don't play like 250 shows a year like some bands.
Yeah.
But we play all the time, doing maybe I don't know, maybe 60, 70. Not very many if you think about. Being on tour,
Yeah, like Dylan, I think he did like 300 or something once. I mean, I think Dylan was touring like 300 days a year at one point.
Oh my gosh. I mean, for me personally, knowing Mike Watt, from the Minutemen, and then when he went off to do his Fire Hose tours, he'd have like one day off and play like 80 shows. And I never thought that was good. I always thought, my gosh, even if you worked...
Watt is a different species.
Yeah.
He's, that guy, he does 30 shows in 31 days, books the show, settles the show, drives the van, keeps a spare set of strings in his back pocket in case he breaks one on stage.
He pees in a bottle.
He's the only true punk rocker I've ever met. Like, he is really... I've seen him wear out people that claim they're punk rockers.
For sure, and he pees in a bottle. For sure.
Well, we all pee in bottles, but you don't necessarily have to. It's just for fun.
But when he was out with Iggy Pop, he wouldn't stay in the bouge hotel rooms that they had because Iggy Pop gets the Four Seasons and stuff, and he'd be like, I'm not staying in a bouge hotel room, and Watt always stays like with the people. So he'd like every show, he's like, anyone have a couch for Watt? And like someone would hold up their hand, and he would go sleep on someone's couch while he had a 4-star hotel room waiting for him. Like, he's really pumped.
See, this is where he needs some advice, and I'd say, Watt,
we love you, Watt.
Don't
we love
sweat
you,
it
man.
that much.
We love you.
Staying in a hotel doesn't diminish your credibility like you're worrying that it does.
But I have a feeling he's taking the buyout though, too, bro. I don't
Maybe.
I think there's a couple extra quid involved in this.
That might be it.
But for me personally, I would say, hey, a good night's sleep in a great hotel is worth the money sometimes, right?
For sure.
I don't take hotels.
Recently, though, this is a recent thing for you.
It's been the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah. A couple of years, he has his own bus with a shower.
Well, the bus can be even worse than a hotel. I mean, it's your own little place,
Yeah,
you
but he has a great one. Tell him. It's what's it called? It's called La Fauna. But what kind of bus is it?
It's a secret.
It's a secret bus.
Can't tell the world.
It's cool though.
It's my bus is 30 years old and her name's LaFonda. That's all I'll say. But she's a glorious hunk of shiny steel going down the road.
She's cool.
Does it have air conditioning?
Yeah.
Oh no.
We just hang our heads out the windows, put ice cubes on our forehead.
Wow.
She's an older rig, but she's glorious. I'm a sucker. I come from a long line of auto mechanics. I have a lot of old Chryslers and I'm just a sucker for old machinery.
Right.
And so I stumbled across this thing, and my kids have moved out. My wife wanted to come on the road, and I said, all right, let's do this thing. And we got La Fonda, and I take it on days off. I drive it to campgrounds, and we go camping on days off.
It's pretty nice. Like, didn't you get that idea from Trey?
Trey Parker?
Yeah. Wasn't that the idea that he never takes a room either? Or he never used to. Maybe he does now. Back in the day.
I'm shrugging my shoulders for all you people out in Radio Land.
That was a good visual. It's a good bus, man. You should check it out.
Well, maybe that's just that the kinship of the bass players. You know, they
kinship
feel
of
like
the bass players.
They have to drive their own. Do you pee into a bottle like Watt does?
I'm peeing into a bottle right now.
Well, there you go. No shame in that. You know, for me, that's where the Flaming Lips, we would always draw the line. It's like,
as long as somebody's drawing the line.
You know, like we're road dogs, yeah, but we're not peeing in bottles and all that. So, you know, that was always a different level. And
bottle, pickle jar, what's the difference?
Or to me, it's just stop the van and get out and pee on the road. It's like the idea that you're peeing into this bottle, driving down the road. I'm like, that's too much. That's too much pee going somewhere.
I think I'd crash. I don't know.
Yeah. So we're all going to be on tour together in about another month.
Yeah,
3 weeks or so.
Wait. I can't wait for that.
I know. And we'll really, I guess I'll get to see your La Fonda. Is that what you're calling it, Les?
La Fonda, come on board.
You'll see La Fonda.
Why La Fonda? What is
You'll
this
know
name?
when you see her. She's big and brown and beautiful.
Yeah, she is. She's a good car.
Now I think I understand the name even better. Yeah. So why is it brown? Is it did you?
You just got to see, man.
It's like she's retro looking, man. She's cool.
Okay. You guys have been playing shows already as the summer has rolled along?
Yeah, we've been touring a bit already, haven't we? This is our second tour this summer, I guess. It's been fun. We're getting better. I'm finally learning the songs. They sink in slowly.
Yeah.
I always make the same mistakes over and over again. It's like I learn the mistakes and then I keep repeating them like they're good or something.
Well, is this because when you made the records, you didn't know what you were playing, or you're playing bits that you didn't play on the record? How's that work?
I don't know I think we just have a lot of different material, and it's hard to sing and play. You know how it is. Like when I'm trying to sing well, it's hard to remember all the footwork.
Could be all that peyote's been chewing on too.
Could be that.
You mean footwork? You mean like pressing pedals?
The pedals.
And all,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, I just sing most of the time. I rarely ever play and sing at the same time, and if I do, I fake the playing. I'd sort of do it like Elvis would do it. I'm just acting.
But
like
you have
I'm
a
playing,
lot of you have a lot of gadgetry to juggle.
That's true.
So
you've got the lasers and shit to handle. I was actually willing.
Exactly. See, I think that really works for me. It's like I feel. That to me feels very comfortable and normal, because I don't really even like standing up there singing. I always feel kind of embarrassed about all of it. So I'm always looking for something to do that isn't like supposed to be a musician.
I know what
like,
you mean.
oh, I can do this really well. And I think that works for me, because I just can't remember specific things very well. I have a couple of solos that I play that are just like 4 or 5 notes that if I rehearse them in sound check, I go, okay, I know where that is and stuff. But still, after all these years, I'm not a musician that, can hear a note and go, oh, I know where that is. It's all just memory of, oh, it's this spot on the guitar or whatever, And so, but it is amazing how you can, entertainment and being a musician, they don't necessarily go together. You can know a lot about music and not be very entertaining, and you can know nothing about music and be absolutely entertaining, and
That's
rock and
for
roll
sure.
is probably some hybrid of all that at the same time, but luckily for me, I am playing with some of the great musicians of our day, so I'm
yeah, man. You've got Steven. He can play everything, man.
oh man, yeah, it's just
crazy.
a marvel. Yeah,
One of the best shows I've ever seen, well, a bunch of the best shows I've ever seen are your shows, but one of the best Flaming Lips shows I've ever seen was when y'all handed out those laser pointers to everybody in the audience on the way in. Do you remember that?
Oh,
man. I don't think
Yeah.
you did that many
Oh,
times because it was kind of just probably too expensive or something. But
No,
that was mind blowing.
we, at the time when we got those, I think we got like 100,000 of them. It's, they're like a quarter or something. It was
These little red laser pointers.
Yeah, these little
And
cat
everyone in
toys,
the audience, he made us like time it to hit this mirror that he would hold above his head at exactly the same time. And it was wild, man. Like it was one of the visually one of the craziest things I've ever seen. It was like some like futuristic alien spiritual ceremony. It was like a religious ceremony for robots.
Oh man,
it was amazing.
That's a great description. And it was, and it's crowd participation and all those sorts of things. But you know what? People got so scared. Like the people at the clubs would be so scared. They're like, we think they're going to point them at our face. And I'm like,
right.
Yeah, they will, but nothing will happen. And
people are really safe these days.
Well, they are. I mean, I think nowadays they may not be. This is probably going back, maybe 10 years ago or whatever.
They're pretty uptight. I remember we were Charlotte and I, when we were doing the Ghost, when it was acoustic, it was just me and her. She really wanted to light her accordion on fire at the end of the Jimmy Fallon show performance, which I thought was a great idea, and they were not having it. She's like, just a little bit, just a little fire. They're like,
that
no
is
way.
somewhat understandable.
Yeah, I guess it is. But
Les and I are from our perspective, that seems like not a good idea. I mean, for me, even when I see that legendary footage of Jimi Hendrix with his guitar on fire, I'm like, dude, I'm just worried too much that this is going to go badly. He's going to hit someone in the face and it's going to blind them.
Also, I definitely don't think they would have let Jimmy set his guitar on fire in the NBC studio or whatever.
Yeah.
It just would not have happened.
No, I'm sure they didn't want. I'm sure he didn't ask permission either.
I mean, yes, it would have been glorious, but I don't ever see it happening.
When Chibo Mano toured with the Butthole Surfers, Gibby would light fires at the end of every show. Did you ever see that show? He'd fill a cymbal with lighter fluid and light that on fire, and then he'd smash it, and the flames would go up like 20 feet. And every night, I was just terrified we were all going to get burned in.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And we would have the fire marshal would come
when Gibby's doing it.
Yeah. I think we had about like 10 out of 12 shows shut down early because of that. Once he started doing that, the fire trucks would show up. It was crazy.
But it does, fire is. It does heighten the experience. I mean, everybody's adrenaline gets going, and and if you're in the audience and you don't care that it's not going to burn your face off or whatever, I think it's thrilling. I mean, when we played with them, it must have been like 1985 or 1986, and they were doing that in these 1,000-seat clubs. It was like the greatest thing ever. But we were at a safe distance where it's like, well, if the place starts burning up, we're running out the back.
But you guys must have had pyrotechnics before the lifts, right?
We did that same sort of stuff where you'd catch stuff on fire, and we would have fireworks on stage. And all of it, just a bad idea. I mean, a cool, great, insane idea, to kind of entertain yourself. But nowadays, if I went to a show and someone shot off fireworks and it hit me in the face, I wouldn't like that. I see it as being like, hey, I'm here to listen to your music. Why are you shooting me in the face with
have your face shot off?
Fire. Yeah.
Well, it's not the 90s anymore.
I'm more into bubble techniques. Bubbles in the air, bubble machines, way to go.
We would do bubble machines, and being open to everything, I think, is what's taught us the best. There are some things that are dangerous.
How did you,
yeah.
I mean, I know that you're the ringleader of the performance art and like visual aspect of your band, but are you always just like, how do you come up with new ideas? Like I just saw on your Instagram, there was this new kind of horizontal light strips that made it look like you're swimming in like luminescent ocean. Is that going to be is that part of the stage set, or is that at your art house thing in
That's going to be something that we start to work on before we get on the tour with you and see how, and it's, you guys know, every day you go in, it's a different sort of place, what you can do here and there or whatever, but
right. But are you working on some new things?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and that we have our own giant warehouse and that we own all the stuff. I think that's the thing. I can just always be playing with it. When you're just renting stuff and then it's out on the road and then it just gets thrown into a case and then you never see it again. It's very difficult. I mean, we've done some shows like that where you just want to have it and play with it and see what all it can do. And so as much as we were able to over the years, we would just buy the stuff and say, oh, good, we're going to use this for the next 10 years. Let's mess with it and see how it works and all that. And I think that doesn't serve everybody that well, but it definitely serves the Flaming Lips well, that we get to play with it and we get to control what it's doing and say what where it goes.
Well, because you take for like those LED lights that you kind of made into a weird alien podium that went up to your mic that you would stand up on, which I don't know if you still do that because it was like it kind of limited your movement on stage, but it looked amazing. It looked like you were ejaculating laser beams out of your feet or something. I was just thinking, about those lights. Like, I can't imagine that the lighting company normally uses those lights for that purpose. So I just imagine that y'all get these lights and you're like, hey, I can make a crazy squid ejaculation podium out of it. Like, did they?
As people do say often.
Like, how do you figure that out?
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, because we would just make the lights ourselves. I mean, we would have, Sachem, our video tech guy, he'd be interested in it. We'd go and start figuring it out. And that we would keep playing with it. I think that's the part of being on tour that really works for the Flaming Lips is like, oh, we get to try it again tomorrow night. And then if it doesn't work, try it again the next night and just trying things. And
so what are you doing these days? Do you still have some of the classics? Like I remember you had that amazing Mushroom period. Where's the show at now? Do you have some of the same classic looks from before? Is it like a whole new thing or
Yeah. I mean, it's I forget all the stuff. I mean, we have like inflatable robots, and I ride a unicorn, a light up unicorn through the audience, and I have my space bubble. All those sorts
space
of
bubble.
Doesn't everybody?
That's a classic. That one has to stay.
But
people would want their money back if you didn't have that thing, man.
I've never heard anyone say or even imply the notion of riding a light-up unicorn through a group of individuals. That's a pretty sweet thing to be able to say.
Badass. He's like,
I ride my unicorn, light up unicorn through the crowd.
Of course I do. Yeah, and it's that. I mean, and that's just one song in the show, But I don't know. I think more and more, audiences, they want stuff. I think there's always a little bit of, you're a little bit embarrassed about, is this just too much, And I would be the first to admit that, yes, we do too much sometimes, and we do not know what we're doing, and we'd rather go too far and say sorry than to wish we had done something and not do it.
Well, you guys pull it off, though.
Yeah, I don't think you need to apologize for anything. It's a pretty glorious thing. The thing that I'm amazed with is sitting there watching you guys as the rest of the audience does, setting up all your own stuff.
Yeah, you always are out there.
That's even some Mike Watt shit right there. That's punk rock.
Well, I was about to say, that's the Mike Watt thing that we still do, but that's mostly born out of just sheer terror that you're going to go up there and your distortion pedal's not going to be plugged in right, and you're going to be thinking, oh, this is going to be great, and you struggle through 3 songs, you can't figure it out. So, I mean, as much as it's about music and being in the moment and being spontaneous and all that, we want it to work. There's nothing worse than technical difficulties that just take the joy out of the moment, and that's always waiting for you. Everything you do is like, you're lucky it doesn't just fuck up all the time. So that moment of standing there, the audience is there, and there's that, that anxiety of like you're getting ready to play. It's kind of thrilling, but it's kind of nerve-wracking. We just start to mess around with the stuff and say, okay, is it all working? It's all going to happen, and do a little bit of a sound check just for ourselves. Like, I can hear you now, I can hear that. And, and we kind of embrace it now as part of the Flaming Lips. The way the Flaming Lips take the stage, everybody does it in their own way. Everybody always talks about the way the Rolling Stones take the stage or something, they'd run up there and, to whereas we kind of fumble up there and plug our shit in and get ready.
It's definitely cool, man. I remember when we toured with the Ghost and y'all, like everyone was asking me what the show was like, and I always felt like it feels like the most amazing New Year's Eve ever, every night. basically. It's just like,
which it should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we get so, it's not embarrassing. It's just you're just nervous about the whole thing. And Stephen and I especially feel very clumsy, like thinking, oh, pay attention to us. Look, we're so cool. You should pay attention to us. I think some performers are great at that. Some performers, they stand there and you just want to look at them because they're just so great, you know? And we just always feel like, oh my gosh, this is just uncomfortable for us. So the more of that stuff that starts to happen, you know, the more we can just sit there and say, hey, look at all this stuff. Isn't it great? And then we're singing and playing while it's all happening. But you know, the secret behind that thing that the Flaming Lips do is like everybody in the Flaming Lips is a secret Kiss fanatic, you know? You wouldn't...
oh, the secret's out now.
You know, you wouldn't think that, you know, but it's like as much as Stephen, you know, can play John McLaughlin and John Coltrane's music, he loves Kiss. And same with Derek and same with, you know, the with Matt and Nick, the drummers and stuff. So it's like everybody always thinks, you know, Wayne is pushing all these goofy ideas onto these serious musicians. And I'm like,
I know Stephen's in it.
Yeah, it's everybody loves it, you know, and everybody loves the idea that it's like we become superheroes in the sense of the way Kiss would. You know, you go up there and you're a character. And I mean, some musicians are just simply themselves, and it's wonderful. You know, I think Sean, I think you're like that. And I actually, Les, I think you're kind of like that. You know, it's just you know.
Have you ever seen that show, the new one called Tour Bus Diaries? I think maybe you've seen it, Les, right? Have you seen it yet? It's like Mike Judge, the guy who did Beavis and Butthead, does like interviews about touring. You should see him.
And they kind of do like a little cartoon about the story.
Exactly, and they've done Bootsy Collins.
Yeah,
and James
I think
Brown.
I've seen a couple here and there. Yeah,
It's amazing. Well, the thing that I noticed about the P-Funk one, what they were saying that like George Clinton would get all dressed up for the show. Then after the show, he'd put on his normal street clothes and kind of walk outside, and like he'd be bummed because the groupies wouldn't notice him. But they wouldn't even think it was George Clinton because he had just been wearing all these outfits. Whereas Bootsy was just 24/7 Bootsy. Like he always had the glasses. He would like sleep with the platforms on and shit. So he was always just pulling the ladies after the show, which I think is pretty funny because it just shows like for him it wasn't even a performance. At a certain point, it just sort of became. He just fused with the superhero costume. It's like when Spider-Man and the alien unite.
It totally. I mean, I think rock and roll really is giving you this identity. I mean, I totally relate to that. I mean, I only would change my clothes if I felt like I didn't want anybody to know it was me. You know, if I'm going to go out somewhere and I don't want to talk with a bunch of you know, drunk people or whatever. You know, but I think rock and roll is great like that. How it gives you a chance to be like, well, I don't know what kind of character you want to be, you know? And
I think I saw you wear that with this one gray jacket, maybe like, you know, 20 shows in a row. Like I always wondered how you could do that. Like,
well, my superpower really is that my sweat doesn't stink.
You don't smell. He's like a Japanese.
Yeah, Shiner keeps claiming that this notion as well.
Well, it's true. Japanese. We think that white people smell more than we do. Japanese. So I'm sort of half. I have like half Caucasian smell.
Half of Shiner smells.
But it's true.
The other half is clear as a whistle.
If you're in Tokyo, it's hard to find deodorant. Like it's really hard. You have to walk for miles and talk to people.
Work up a sweat.
Yeah, give money to people in alleys, and then you can get some.
Well, for me personally, Sean, I've never been around you and thought you stink.
Thanks,
so,
Wayne.
You know,
well, you have an opportunity
something.
here coming up soon.
Yeah. I'm older now.
I've been actually, Les. I think I've been around you when. I mean, a lot of times we're playing. It is in the middle of the summer. It's hot. You know, I don't think I've ever thought you stank either. So maybe that's where we're all sharing in a little bit of the superpower. But when people ask me about it, I'm like, well, I sweat, but it doesn't smell. I don't sweat that much even. You know, so I don't really have.
Most people do sort of say that. I don't know. Most people don't recognize their own aroma. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, this could be the odorless mentor.
I have a very large nasal cavity, so I pick up on smells. So
That's true.
I'll let both you guys know a couple weeks in.
No, it's true. Wait, he really does have an uncanny sense of smell. I swear, we'll go outside of his house. It'll be completely pitch black. We'll be in Northern California, and he'll be like, "Wait." there's a possum over there, 15 yards to the right. I'm like, no, there's not. He can smell if the animals around. He's got it's his superpower. That's why he's so good at he's also good at wine. He understands the bouquet of the wine.
I've never once smelled a possum. He's giving you, he's shining you up.
Well, I was giving you an example of
that is a fine example of.
What was it, a raccoon? It was something you were like, there's a raccoon there.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you said.
I don't remember that at all.
It was either a raccoon
we were boozing it
or
up.
was it a possum? I don't know, but I believe you. He's sensitive. No, it's his superpower.
It is my one superpower.
It's hot today, man. It's super hot. We've been having these weird cold like lightning storm shows in the summer in Oregon. Portland was almost rained out, but we got to play for a bunch of elephants. Have you ever played the Oregon Zoo? Probably not. They probably wouldn't let you bring in all that craziness into the zoo because
but I mean, we played the zoo amphitheater here. I mean, I sometimes those are the greatest amphitheaters ever. And knowing that you can go and visit dolphins and elephants and stuff the day of the show, I mean, I love that sort of stuff. Yeah,
it was amazing because Les has this song called "Southbound Pachyderm," which is one of my favorites, and we got to play that for a pachyderm. So there's an elephant there, and we played the song, and it just felt very profound.
Man,
definitely first.
That's magic.
That was cool. It was magic.
That's absolutely magic. Are most of the shows outside?
No, it's been in and out, I guess.
There you go.
For some reason, the outside shows have been colder weather, though, generally speaking.
Well, at the beginning of the summer, it did seem colder. Now it seems like it's very, very hot. So, for me personally, playing outside definitely has magic when it all goes well. It's like it's better than anything that can happen inside. But, if it rains or if it's too hot or something like that, it can diminish, the audience having.
It can be rough.
But sometimes I think those things, the hardship or the whatever it is, makes it more special at the same time. It's a strange thing. If it all goes perfectly.
That's true.
You never think about it.
We had a double rainbow by the end of our show, the one in Portland at the zoo.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it was
pachyderms,
nice.
double rainbows. It was like a Flaming Lips show.
Yeah, it was.
Damn, I wish we would have really been there.
It was cool, man, except they evacuated the zoo at one point, so we thought the show was canceled. So I didn't get to see the lions, which is what I really wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
But then everyone was upset I posted a picture of the elephant, and people got upset about how the elephant was being exploited and all that. And I can relate to that. Like, I understand, like, I do feel bad for the animals. But my perspective is that if we don't have zoos with those animals sort of ambassadors representing the species, then people will just forget about animals. Like, I feel like we have to have zoos to sort of keep animals in the consciousness of people. So I always try to look at the zoo animals as ambassadors to their species. They're sort of sacrificing themselves to keep them in the psyche of man. That's my feeling.
Right. And I do think there is a new type of zoo that's happening. I mean, the Oklahoma City Zoo, they're not like they used to be. It's not just an animal in captivity. Some people argue that, but I mean, they go to great lengths to make sure that these animals, that they're living this full, life of what the way that their life was intended. And
that's cool.
Maybe there isn't a place in the near future for animals in zoos. Maybe that really isn't a thing. Maybe it is something that we can, I don't know. I always think when it goes well, it's wonderful. But boy, when it doesn't go well, it seems like there is some exploitation and some suffering going on.
Well, that's optimistic though, because I know that there are more tigers, I think, in captivity in America than there are in the wild or something. So
see, that sounds like something Sean Lennon would know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the trivia guy. There's even a part of the Delirium show where I give trivia to the audience. It's an exciting part of the show. Is that my phone making the noise? Sorry, I'm just trying to look up our tour dates because I feel like I should mention what we're playing.
Your tour is going before and after us, probably forever. Yeah,
It's us and Van Halen.
Man, that sounds awesome.
That would be amazing. Did you guys get to see that show when they played recently? Did you see it?
I saw the last David Lee Roth show at Hollywood Bowl with Brad, my son, and Noel Fielding.
So is David Lee Roth with the kind of
he was
metal
amazing.
band? I mean, he is amazing.
He was amazing.
Yeah. He's the greatest performer.
He couldn't necessarily hit them notes, But he still had all the moves and talked all the shit and was grinning like a bastard. It was amazing.
The last time...
Noel Fielding, who knew nothing about Diamond Dave, was like, oh, Diamond Dave. I love Diamond Dave. Oh, Diamond Dave, I love him. So
Yeah. The last time that we stayed in the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood, Van Halen with David Lee Roth were doing a performance on one of the TV shows in the street there.
Wow.
And David Lee Roth was doing something so enthusiastically that he hit himself in the nose with his microphone, and his nose was bleeding so hard they had to stop the show.
Oh my God.
Shiner does that all the time.
That's commitment. You don't know it's a good show unless you break your own nose.
That's right.
You know, I like Van Halen with David Lee Roth, and nothing against the Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar. It just doesn't feel like Van Halen if David Lee Roth isn't there. Do you agree?
I agree. Of course. I think we all feel that way, to be honest.
It's a funny thing, though. Some people just, if you got, you could just float along. You could listen to David Lee Roth and listen to Sammy Hagar. But for me, I could never do that. It's like once David Lee Roth wasn't there, it's just not, I'm not that interested.
I agree.
Yeah.
My favorite are the early records.
When you guys came up with this name, the Delirium, was it meant to be the Delirium and then you put your names ahead of it? What's the science behind you agreeing with this name?
I don't know. I think we were thinking Delirium, but then no one would have known.
You wanted to call it Delirium Tremens.
Oh yeah, I thought Delirium Tremens, but it was a little too dark.
It was a little dark, so
then we dropped the Tremens.
We shaved it down.
And
then we put the names in front so that people would actually come to the shows.
That was a smart idea because Les knows that if you just put out a new band and don't have a name in it, a lot of people don't realize it's you.
Well, that's the power of branding. I mean, like, Les, when you went out and you weren't doing Primus, did you feel like people are going to know it's you without Primus?
Well, everybody thinks, I'm going to go off and do my own thing, and everybody's going to follow me. I'm the Pied Piper, and then like 1/10 of them come, and you got to build it again. In the late '90s, I did that with the Frog Brigade, and it took a while, and I built it up. But when I'd go off and do Bucket of Bernie Brains or Sausage or one of these other things, there's that name recognition thing. So for pretty much most of the 2000s, I was building the Claypool name, doing Claypool this and Claypool that. So it just made sense when we did the Delirium not to just call it the Delirium.
He's definitely become a master of like maneuvering new projects into like their own momentum, and he's good at that. So we've been
I'm juggling chainsaws.
There is some power in that, in the group and the name, and it's just a simple identity. And I think very few artists could break away from a well-known group and then just go out there. I always think of like Genesis and Phil Collins. Like, Phil Collins takes over the world, and then people remember, oh yeah, he was in Genesis.
That's crazy.
And like, how does that happen? But usually that doesn't happen. Usually it's like you're in a group, and then if you go out without the group, people don't really know who you are.
Sting did it. Sting did pretty well too. A couple of people managed.
But even that, those guys didn't just jump off the ship and into a bigger ship. They jumped into a rowboat and rowed for a little bit, and they're got bigger. I mean, Gabriel's a classic example of that. A lot of people didn't even know Gabriel was in Genesis.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
No, I mean, it's a funny thing that both the dudes that were in Genesis kind of go on and do their thing. And maybe it's that their music really was popular. And some of the Genesis music wasn't that popular, even though they were popular as a group. People didn't really know their songs like they do Phil Collins and even Peter Gabriel's. Maybe it is just the music. At some point, you either know the music or you don't. I mention groups all the time where it's like, I know their music and I don't know the group. There's like that song, there's like, Goddess on the mountaintop, burning like a silver.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
I could be standing
Venus.
next to the person that sang that at the grocery store, and I wouldn't actually know who it is, but I know every word to the song. I love the song,
I think a lot of people covered that song, but I think the last version was Wilson Phillips, actually, right? Wasn't it? I think it was.
Don't be looking at me.
Yeah, I think it was Wilson Phillips, the last version of it. But yeah, isn't that like an old?
I think it was Van
Motown
Halen,
song?
David Lee Roth era.
Right.
So you guys are playing a show, and it's 3:00 in the afternoon for you guys?
Correct.
Yep.
And you're getting ready to go do a sound check, and is somebody opening up for you tonight?
Yeah, you know who is Uni.
Oh, there you go.
Charlotte's band,
I thought it might be Charlotte and the fellas. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really nice for me to have Charlotte on the road and stuff. And Les has got Cheney with him, so we're like one big happy family.
Oh, well, good. And then is she playing with you guys until we all get together, or what's going on there?
Yeah, and then when we get together, it's Particle Kid is coming. I think
it is exactly. You're right.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good time. We got a good couple of weeks where, yeah.
It'll be real fun.
And then when you guys go off and do these fishing trips and stuff like that, these are things that you planned while you're on tour, like you're going to do that together?
Well, Les has that all planned out.
I don't plan anything. It just kind of falls. I'm the worst planner. I generally just go where I'm pointed.
That's true. You're not.
But I'll look at with the bus thing. I have to somewhat plan ahead of time as far as just our camping, where we're going to camp.
Yeah.
So I always try and camp near some form of liquid, so that I can flick a fly or whatever. I have all my fishing gear on board, and then a lot of times I'll talk Shiner into coming.
I like going out.
Oh, I see.
But the days that I get up real early to go fishing, I am a little more tired for the show.
Because you're more exhilarated. You have more of a glint in your eye.
Yeah.
But often too, I'll go and try and wake him up, and he's like, and then I go by myself.
He'll get up no matter what. If there's fish jumping, he's going.
So when you're like after the show, Les, you'll get in the La Fonda, right?
Correct.
And you'll drive all night, or you have a driver that helps you?
I have a driver on show days, but on days off, I take the bus and we go find some place to camp.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I personally,
I enjoy driving.
Me too. I do too.
Very,
yeah. I mean, I just it is. It's kind of a low. It doesn't take all your concentration, but it takes just enough to kind of, you feel like you're doing something, and it's like an adventure. Sometimes sitting while someone else is driving, I don't know. I'm just always I'm too anxious or something. I do like the tour bus. I like the idea that, you're sleeping while you're getting, you're going somewhere else, but you don't see anything.
I like that too.
When you're driving, you do see the mountains, you see the road, you see everything. I love that.
Well, that's the thing is back in the old days when we had the odor home in the early Primus era, we, Lur and I would always drive right after the show because we would be amped up from the show. So we'd put a beatbox between us and a pair of headphones and listen to Floyd and just look out across the land. And we saw a lot of the country, things that I hadn't seen in 25 years or so, like the Mount Rushmore and the Badlands and
man, totally
Grand Canyon, all these. And now I see them all again. And we went to Meteor Crater out there in Arizona.
Oh man, totally, yeah,
So and I've seen all these things again recently with my wife. So it's pretty
cool.
sweet. Rediscovering America.
Well, I agree. I mean, the tour bus it has its benefits, but you don't see anything. You just see a tour bus and you see the venue, and that's it. And all that stuff in between is the adventure. It tells you where you're at, tells you where you've gone. I like seeing the stuff, looking out the window and saying, hey, let's drive over there instead of just going past it or whatever. I'm same way. I've only seen Mount Rushmore once because there's just no one ever plays. Is it in South Dakota?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a big rock and roll town.
It's fairly near.
Well,
the
I know
Badlands.
I've only seen it once of all the things I've seen in America. Just because you drive it all the time, I've only seen it one time. But it's amazing if you think about it. Like they blew up the side of this mountain and it made faces out of it. It's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't understand
you
how
couldn't
that
do
works.
that today. Hey, so are you bringing the critter out with you on the road? You're fresh young squire.
We are going to attempt it. We have a show next weekend where we sort of see how good it is for the baby and then how good it is for us and all that sort of stuff. But I think so. I think we're just going to do this is like the circus family.
Just make sure you do earplugs because everyone in Keith Richards' family, all the kids, are deaf in the same way in the same ear because they would always be in this one VIP booth. And so all of his kids are kind of missing frequency in one ear.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. So you make sure to get ear protection. That's what I recommend.
Yeah, we already went to one concert and we thought, hey, that's just too loud. And yeah, exactly. Well, that's good advice. Thank you, Sean Lennon.
That's what Uncle Sean
yeah,
said.
we're gonna try.
Good old Uncle Sean.
Yeah. We're gonna try, and I think it'll be what a great adventure. He won't remember any of it, but his deep subconscious will have a great appreciation of it later for sure.
It's going to be in his bones, man. I can't wait to meet him.
Well, fellas, I have to run.
Yeah, we got to go too.
You guys, I have to run from this very long mic check that we're doing.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
All right. Well, it's fucking so cool talking with everybody like this. I knew that we could talk for hours and hours and hours. I hope it makes an interesting podcast. And I love you guys. And
it'll be number one. Send our love to Katie and your baby.
I'll text both of you as soon as I get a minute, and I'll be watching your Instagrams and seeing how things are going. All right. Well, I love you.
All right, later, man.
All right, bye.
Love you,
Take it easy,
man.
man.
Wayne Coyne, Les Claypool, Sean Lennon, thank you so much for joining us here on the Talkhouse Podcast. Listeners, make sure to catch the Flaming Lips and Claypool Lennon Delirium on tour across America through July and August. If you enjoyed today's episode, definitely make sure to hear the guys on past episodes. And from about the same time, Wayne Coyne in conversation with hip-hop legend Prince Paul. And we've already said it to him privately, but I just want to say from all of us in the Talkhouse family to Wayne and his partner Katie, so many, many congratulations on the birth of your son.
Make sure you check out Talkhouse on all your favorite social platforms. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we got them all.
At Talkhouse.
The Talkhouse theme music was composed and performed by The Range.
Shouts.
Today's episode was engineered by Michael Ivins on Wayne Coyne's part. That's Michael, also of the Flaming Lips.
If I'd known he was going to be recording it, I would have had him mic himself too, Josh. That man is brilliant.
Absolutely. Sean and Les were recorded in Sacramento at Ace of Spades by Matthew Maxwell.
Also, may I just take a moment to say, another fantastic musician and videographer. He used to play in drug apartments and now makes all of their videos.
What a talented team today.
Let's just pair the engineers for the next conversation.
Right?
Subscribe to the Talkhouse Podcast for upcoming episodes, including Juliana Barwick and Mary Lattimore in conversation and improvising together, Silver Sun pickups with Butch Vig, Kelsey Lou with Yersa Daly Ward, and so many more.
If you happen to be in New York, July 12th, Talkhouse is hosting a conversation between producer Peter Kadis and musician Craig Finn, all about the legacy of Frightened Rabbit's Scott Hutchison. That'll be at Rough Trade in Brooklyn at 6:30 p.m. July 12th.
And you'll be moderating that one, right, Josh?
I'll be there.
Cool. Free event. All info at talkhouse.com/events. Till next week, I'm Elia Einhorn.
I'm Josh Modell.
Peace. And brown acid.